tonight's conversationalist was one of the founding members of a band that had 23 hits, and 50 years on from the day they got together, they're still going strong, gigging on their 50th anniversary tour right now. The lineup has changed over that time, but we are joined by the sole remaining original member from Showaddywaddy. Let's welcome drummer Romeo Challenger.
Hello, Jackie. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, my friend?
Fine. Lovely.
Brilliant. What part of the world are we speaking to you in? Where are you?
Leicestershire. Yeah, near Loughborough.
And that's where the band hails from, right?
Yeah, the band, original lineup, or from Leicester, but I mean, over the years, people have left. We've had a couple of guys who've passed away. And so we've drawn from sort of different parts of the country, but the nucleus is still a Leicester-based band.
You tour pretty much non-stop, don't you?
Well, yeah, we're not going back on the road. We've never come off.
You never left it.
We never left it. No, I mean, the band started in 1973. I joined in 1973.
Right.
And we've been working ever since.
How incredible is that? So it's a 50th anniversary tour, you're calling it, but it's...
Yeah, basically, that's what it is, yes.
And how many guys sort of are in the band now?
Well, it's a 6-piece, but I'm the only original member in the band.
So you've been there the whole time, Romeo?
The whole time. And the thing is, Jackie, it seems just like... I know it's so cliche, but for me, it's just like yesterday. I don't know where the years have gone. I really don't. It's just flown past.
Well, and I think the fact that because you have been busy the whole time and the band has stayed together, I mean, that's, that is getting rarer and rarer, that bands are surviving as long and working as long, and it hasn't all fallen apart and everyone's fallen out with each other. So huge congratulations to you. Yeah,
I think also though, the fact that, when the old way bands used to tour is like, they do a tour, then they, a break for a couple of years and all that. I mean, that couple of years changes everybody's way of thinking and all the rest of it. So it's not a cohesive group of people.
Yeah.
People are going their own ways. So by the time people are ready to tour again, some people might not want to do it. They've obviously got into all the ways and other things, other projects, and of course, there's no band after that. So
you guys, you think that the magic has been just sticking together and always playing together throughout?
Yes.
And what about other bands that you've admired sort of along the way who've, similarly managed to sort of keep it together?
The bands I like was like people like Led Zeppelin.
Ah.
And the weird thing about that, though, is we were doing a gig in Birmingham. Oh, I think it was in the late 70s or something like that. And a huge man came into, knocked the door and came in and presented himself as John Bonham from Led Zeppelin.
Wow.
Which we were completely knocked out with. Because, it's not everybody can say John Bonham walked into their dressing room.
You need cooling, baby, I'm not fooling.
From 1969, Led Zeppelin, Whole Lotta Love. And you may also remember that was the theme to Top of the Pops when we were all growing up. Led Zeppelin's drummer, John Bonham, providing a very special memory for tonight's special guest, Romeo Challenger, the drummer of Showaddywaddy, when Bonham showed up at their gig. Well, let's go back a little bit further, if it's okay with you, Romeo, to sort of, when you really first started getting into music. I mean, would you have a clear memory of, the first single that you bought as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I think I do remember the first single. It was... What You Gonna Do About It by the Small Faces. I think that was in 1965.
So how old would you have been then when you first would
15.
15, right, okay. So
yeah, because previous to that, I mean, we've always had singles, but I never used to buy them. Yeah, Mum and Grandma used to buy them because, go even further back from 1965, like say, mid-50s, late 50s, whatever, my parents and grandparents used to listen to like the likes of Fats, Domino, Nat King Cole, Elvis, all those people.
Oh yeah.
And I can always remember they say songs like Blueberry Hill, that was always been played at home and all the rest of it. My mother was a very good pianist.
Right.
So she had a good singing voice, it was all sort of a musical background anyway.
The musical household anyway, so you always sort of you
Yes.
were picked up on it. And then your first one, as you said, was the Small Faces.
Small Faces, yeah. I mean, the Small Faces, I remember, I liked them because what they did was what I considered at the time, and I think the term has been misrepresented now,
Right.
is R&B, rhythm and blues and soul. That's what they were coming from. And, you know, and I picked up on that. Stevie Marriott had a fantastic voice, you know, and I was
Right.
well into the mod scene anyway. So it all came together.
I want you to know that I love you, baby. I want you to know that what you gonna do.
Got to number 14 in 1965. What you going to do about it? The Small Faces, the first record ever bought by tonight's special guest, Showaddywaddy's longest-serving band member, clocking up 50 years this year, drummer Romeo Challenger. And we will be back with more musical memories and great conversation from Romeo next.
Now there are 3 steps to
Welcome back to the evening show with Jackie Brambles, where it's just you, me, and tonight's special guest, Romeo Challenger of the legendary Showaddywaddy, celebrating the band's 50th anniversary with another tour happening right now. Before the break, Romeo, we heard about your first record ever purchased, being the Small Faces. Let's talk about when you first started becoming a musician yourself. When did you start drumming?
I started drumming in 1962, actually. Just playing at home and all that. Well, not having the drum kit. I had to get a paper round and to sort of finance the drum kit, which cost £12. But we're talking about, you know, in the mid-60s and all that. They had £12 money. Lots of money.
That was a lot of paper rounds. That was a lot of getting up early.
But yeah, so it got me involved in the work ethic.
Yeah.
And meaning that, you know, if you want something, you really have to work for it. So that, and I quite enjoyed it. I did a morning round and an evening round, and I loved it actually, because it's just something that I quite like doing anyway.
And did you have a particular sort of hero in terms of drummer? You know, was there a drummer that you listened to and thought that's what I want to be like, or saw on the telly?
I was like, well, I'll say the likes of Phil Collins, and because you've got to remember, the thing is, the drummers in bands never really came to fore. I mean, other than people like Ringo and Charlie Watts and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Until these bands started becoming progressive and started moving away from just the basic rhythm and blues stuff, it was difficult to find out who could play and who could play well. But Phil Collins in Genesis, Keith Moon in The Who, and all bands like these guys actually made the bands that they were in anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did admire them.
Abacab featuring Phil Collins, a favourite drummer of tonight's guest, Romeo Challenger of Showaddywaddy. That was a hit for Genesis in 1981. But back when you were starting to learn the drums then, Romeo, was there somebody whose style you were emulating? How did you get to be as good as you got at such a young age?
Well, yeah, I mean, apart from the obvious people like the jazz guys, Buddy Rich and Rubettes and all that, there was a guy, and once again, this is a guy it was actually the first band I ever saw live. Now, this is a band from Leicester, and they were called the Farinas. Roger Chapman was the lead singer, Rick Brett was the bass player, all that.
Right.
And the drummer in the band was a guy called Harry Overall. If I'm going to really progress and move on in drumming, I really need to get into this guy's head and let him show me things that he knows and all the rest of it. And I approached him, and he agreed to give me some lessons. Moving forward from that is the fact that there was a band in Leicester also called Black Widow. Now, they were looking for a drummer, but so they actually obviously approached the best drummer in the area, who was Harry Overall.
Yeah.
He told them that he wasn't particularly interested, but he knows of a young drummer who was, you know, coming on quite a bit and it would be ideal for the band. And they, and
that was you.
That was me. And I did an audition and got the job. When I joined Black Widow, we did the Isle of Wight Festival in 1970.
Right.
And at that time, there were quite a few bands that I quite liked.
I was going to say, was that kind of mind-blowing? You're this kid who's been given this shot and suddenly you're at the Isle of Wight Festival. I mean, who was headlining? Do you remember?
Oh, well, headlining that, it was Jimi Hendrix.
Right.
He headlined it on Sunday.
All along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix, who was headlining the Isle of Wight Festival when a young Romeo challenger found himself on the same bill in his first band, Black Widow. Who else was on the bill?
You've got the likes of The Who, The Doors, Supertramp, Chicago, Procol Harum, all those sort of bands once, and every one of those bands I admired. So, I mean, my mind was blown anyway.
Yeah.
So I was on my head really even before I joined Showaddywaddy. They were the sort of bands I actually listened to, admired. I mean, apart from, obviously, you know, the Otis Redding, the Stax label, the Motown label, all that sort of stuff, you know, because to me, I was actually into quite a lot of music.
Yeah.
Apart from the soul stuff, the reggae music and all the rest of it, I actually liked, you know, heavy metal, you know, rock bands and progressive bands and all the rest of it. So I think I was quite well grounded in that respect.
Do you remember the first, you know, Top of the Pops, the first TV appearance that the band would have made?
The first time we did Top of the Pops, there was a scene shifters strike.
Ah.
We got into the studio, but nobody could, you know, there was no drums or nothing like that. There's no, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Nobody was putting, you know, they were on strike. So all the pops and all that weren't there. We got on stage and all that, and we just had to improvise, playing and movements and all the rest of it. I think we did a dance routine or something like that.
Well, but you guys were so colourful and so exciting to watch. I'm sure people didn't even notice that the scenery was missing.
I think they must have thought, oh, well, this is a new way of doing it. Yeah,
these guys are very stripped back and keeping it simple.
Yes, right, because I wasn't sat behind drum kit, and I'm not. I think actually, I'll be honest, I was, but I think some of the guys, the guitars, they brought the guitars, so that was fine. But it was just like the props and things like drum kits that wasn't allowed on stage.
Hey, rock and roll. The first chart hit ever for Showaddywaddy got to number 2 in 1974. That's another 50th anniversary next year then for our special guest tonight, Romeo Challenger of Showaddywaddy, and we'll return with more great conversation and musical memories from him next.
You looked at me and knew right away. Baby, like to rock, baby, like to rock, baby, like to rock.
Welcome back to the evening show with Jackie Brambles, where we are cozying on in for a great conversation with tonight's special guest, drummer Romeo Challenger of the legendary band Showaddywaddy. Before the break, Romeo, we were talking about your first Top of the Pops appearance. Also on that show, with you would have been Cockney Rebel, Alan Price, Sparks, Brian Ferry, and the Rubettes were number 1 with Sugar Baby Love. I remember buying that single.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Jackie, I'll tell you about Sugar Baby. I mean, I love Rubettes and they're great friends and all that. But
yeah,
had we not taken an offer by another record company, they wouldn't be in existence because they wanted us. The guy who wrote Sugar Baby Love and a lot of stuff for the Rubettes wanted us to record those songs. But, I mean, at the time, we also had our own songs. Because people seem to think that Showaddywaddy only recorded old songs. Well, that's not true.
Right.
The first 2 or 3 hits were written by the band anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, rock and roll lady, and so on. So, when we, because we appeared in New Faces.
That's right.
we was seen by, we didn't want to go on that program at all, because it was like, we didn't want to be involved in talent competitions and all the rest of it. Anyway, we were persuaded to do so, and I'm glad we did, because, all the music companies and all the rest of it, the labels and all that, were watching. And we were contacted by Mike Thirst, who was in a band called the Springfields, Dusty Springfield. And Mike Thirst also did Cat Stevens. He produced Stevens, all that stuff like that. So, we were sort of knocked out by that. He'd be interested. So the fact that he came to us and wanted to produce us, we sort of sidestepped the guy who wanted to write those songs for us.
So because you went on to do that with that producer, it sort of left the way clear for the Rubettes to come in and record those songs.
Correct.
Oh my goodness! So they owe you a big bunch of flowers for that Sugar Baby Love.
Yeah, well, we do. Well, I mean, I do see some time to time when we do sing.
Sugar Baby Love got to number 1 in 1974 for the Rubettes, and you can even hear a bit of bop Showaddywaddy going on in the backing vocals. What about when you sort of were where you would consider the peak to be of sort of Showaddywaddy's being red hot, in terms of everybody in demand and on the telly and having their hits? What stands out for you as a particular cherished memory in terms of getting to meet a musical hero or having a particular collaboration, where you're having a bit of a moment?
Well, I mean, as I said earlier, my musical hero was John Bonham. But previous to that, we when he really got very hot for Showaddywaddy, obviously it was the year that we did, Under the Moon of Love. We got to number 1.
Yeah.
We also had a number 1 album as well, which was fantastic, because I never dreamed of it ever do anything like that at all. Because remember, for me, joining Showaddywaddy and getting in the band, all I ever wanted to do was go on stage and play.
Yeah.
And having recording success, selling albums and all that, was all just the icing on the cake, because I never, ever, in my wildest dreams, thought he could do it, even though I'd hoped it might happen. But I think, I'll just go on and just play.
And in terms of sort of this resurgence of affection for music from the 70s, 80s and 90s, I mean, obviously it's keeping you guys very busy and on the road. Are you enjoying the experience of working with some of your peers again? Quite often in these interviews, I hear that back when you were first breaking through in the charts, everyone had a bit of an ego. Everyone was a bit competitive and didn't mingle too much. But everyone's a bit older and wiser and doesn't care as much anymore about that sort of stuff. And you're getting to have these friendships with your peers and watch them perform and have an appreciation, perhaps.
We used to tour a lot with the Sweet, and you say the Rubettes, and so many, Suzi Quattro, all those sort of bands at that time.
Yeah,
we all worked together. I mean, we used to do massive tours in Germany and all the rest of it. And, we got on all right with them. It's, as you say, the egos wanes a bit when you've sort of been around for a while. You see each other. There's no competition, if there ever really was a competition, but in our heads it might have. But you become quite friendly with the people, that you thought were your rivals.
Number 1 in 1973, Can the Can, Suzi Quattro, a former touring mate with Showaddywaddy. Well, listen, before we let you go, Romeo, we're going to ask you to pick our final track of the hour. We do this with everybody. We are looking for to ask somebody their favourite songs, daft, but it's more a song that you go to quite often because you know it's going to guaranteed to make you feel a certain way, whether you're looking to be comforted or energized or inspired or uplifted, whatever it might be.
My favourite song of all time, I don't even wish you'd be surprised, is Louis Armstrong. We have all the time in the world.
Oh.
When I listen to that song, it's quite a sad song, but it also reminds me of my grandma. And when I listen, you know, sometimes I have dreams and all that where it's so vivid. I think when I wake,
Yeah.
I still think she's alive and all that. But then I get, I think everybody's had that sort of, that sort of dream and all the rest of it. And it would just, when I hear that song, it just reminds me of.
We have all the time in the world, Louis Armstrong from 1969. Great one to end the hour on. Listen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a fascinating chat. 50 glorious years of Showaddywaddy, of course, and they are on their 50th anniversary tour. I mean, you are everywhere. You're all over the UK. People just need to check it out online, showaddywaddy.net, to find out their nearest town, I guess.
Yes, and I hope to see you all at one of these gigs.
And we look forward to the next time you come back to visit us, Romeo. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
My pleasure, Jack. Thank you very much.
Romeo Challenger of Showaddywaddy. What a gent.